Today I'm going to show you how to make some ice cream using one of my all-time favorite ingredients, fermented milk, mkakakakora, AMASI, mursik, whatever you may know it as. I've been making different flavors of sour milk ice cream for about 6 years now, and I find it always hits the spot for people who enjoy sour milk with a little bit of sugar, maybe a little bit of lemon juice as well. Around the world, many different people and cultures enjoy sour milk in many different forms, such as buttermilk, cheese, sour cream, mursik, or mashikwa. The consumption of fermented milk is thought to go as far back as 15,000 years in our collective human history. And it's also thought to have evolved at a few different times in a few different cultures and eventually spread around the world as we domesticated more and more milk-producing animals like buffalo and cows. Fermented milk has many uses over fresh milk. Primarily, it can be stored for much longer because it's got a lower pH that is caused by the accumulation of organic acids. The fermentation process also breaks down the primary sugar found in dairy milk, and that's lactose, which many people are intolerant to. So the fermentation process from fresh milk to sour milk converts some of the lactose into other sugars that our bodies can tolerate to a greater extent. So it's much more preferable as a dairy source for people with lactose intolerance. The lowering of the pH during the fermentation process also prevents the formation of harmful bacteria that could contaminate our milk. To start on our ice cream, the first thing I'm doing is making the AMASI itself. Here I'm combining about 100 milliliters of sour milk left over from a previous batch that I made a few weeks ago, together with 900 milliliters of fresh milk. Normally, I will then just cover the milk in a jar with a cloth or a lid that allows gases to escape without letting contaminants in, and I'll leave this to ferment for a few days either at room temperature or in the fridge. However, today I'm adding about 100 milliliters or so of cool hibiscus tea to the milk. Hibiscus extract changes color from reddish pinkish at lower acidic pHs to purples and blues at neutral to high pH in the alkaline range. We will use this knowledge to monitor our fermentation process. As you can see, the milk starts off with a nice mild purple color in combination with the hibiscus tea extract, and that's because fresh milk, has a pH of about 6.7. After 2 to 3 days of fermentation, at room temperature, here at my house about 20 degrees, we can see the curds have separated from the whey and two distinct bands or fractions have formed in our milk mixture. The bottom layer of fraction is mostly water with unfermented lactose, some whey proteins, and other water-soluble constituents of milk. You can see here that the water looks red again as the fermentation process has caused the pH to become more acidic. And that's our hibiscus indicator telling us we've gone through an acidification of the liquid. The top layer, or the curds, are made up of mostly milk fats and other fat-soluble elements like casein protein. Fats are less denser than water and so they rise to the top. As you can see, the color of the curds is now closer to purple than it is to the pink in the bottom layer. And if you taste the curds alone, they have a mostly mild, almost neutral taste to them. And this tells me most of the acidic components are within that lower fraction. If I were to use the curds alone to make my sour milk ice cream, this will result in a more neutral flavor of ice cream, and that's not what I'm wanting to achieve here. So next, we're going to blend the two fractions together and re-homogenize the fat and the water sections together to get our milk structure again. Coincidentally, this also makes the sour milk easier to drink because it gets a thinner, smoother consistency. So if you don't like drinking sour milk because of the chunks in your sour milk, here's a little trick to get it to a drinking consistency again. So it feels a lot more like a drinking yogurt than it does eating your curd. The moment we blend the two fractions, you can immediately see that the milk now has a more pink color to it, and it definitely has a sour tang as well. Set aside this sour milk, and then we can now focus on making the ice cream base. First thing first, grab a 1.25 liter pot and add 150 grams of brown sugar together with 40 grams of corn flour and a half a teaspoon of salt, and mix well with a whisk or a spatula. We want to mix this quite thoroughly until there are no visible clumps of corn flour, as this will make the cook process much easier and much more efficient. Next, we mix in 250 milliliters of fresh milk and 250 milliliters of fresh cream and mix it all well together before popping the whole mixture onto the stove on high heat. We're going to cook for about 3 minutes with constant mixing until the milk starts to boil, the corn flour starts to thicken and rehydrate, and once boiling, we're going to cook for another minute to 90 seconds or so with vigorous stirring. remove from the heat, and allow to cool completely before adding 500 milliliters of your fermented milk mix now. Blend the sour milk into the base thoroughly with a whisk or a blender before sieving away any lumps that may have formed during the cooking process. As per usual, I'm going to churn the ice cream with dry ice so that it freezes quickly with minimal ice crystal formation for the freshest, smoothest, and creamiest ice cream imaginable. Because I'm a grown-up and I do what I like, I can finally enjoy my ice cream straight out of the tub. So first of all, the first thing I notice is the texture. It's quite a dense ice cream base. That's how I like to make my ice cream, with minimal air involvement. And what that means is when I'm tasting the ice cream, I have a constant hit of flavor on my tongue, as opposed to light, fluffy, big scoops of ice cream that have pockets of air. So I'm able here to taste the flavor of the ice cream the entire time there's something on my tongue. And then if we move on to the flavor notes, I would say the most obvious thing is like the sourness from the little bit of the hibiscus, but also from the fermentation process. And that's the whole point of this ice cream for me. It's absolutely delicious on its own because it's not too rich, it's not too overpowering, it's not too fatty, it's not too creamy, and it's not too sweet. What you end up with something that's quite moreish, but refreshing at the same time. In some ways, it makes me think of like really citrusy cheesecakes, maybe a passion fruit cheesecake, or even something like a lemon meringue. You can smell that the dairy smells different because of that fermentation as well. So there's a little aroma to it as well that's different to like a fresh milk kind of ice cream. Really, really something phenomenal. And this goes quite nicely on its own, but you can pair it with a few different things as well. Of course, if you got a really rich dessert that needs some calming down, some tempering, this AMASI ice cream works wonders. And of course, look at that beautiful, beautiful color. That's absolutely amazing, and that's just a function of the hibiscus, you know. So no artificial colorants involved here at all, just a little plant that has a potent kick to it. I know kids often struggle with new flavors, but if you win them over with the color first, that's a nice segue into maybe a trickier conversation. Yeah, give this a try. Let me know how it goes for you, and of course, have a good day. I'm sorry.